Hello, everyone. I have with me today the filmmaker Luke Livingston, whose film Innovation Race got accepted into the Silicon Valley International Film Festival this
Yay!
year. Yay! So I will tell you, Luke, when the judges and we saw it all at different times, and then we connected afterwards. Your film unanimously got like high marks to get accepted. Into the festival. Our festival definitely it's more on the smaller side where we only accept around 20 to 25 films every year. Um, and your film was just we had so many questions. It provoked a lot of really great discussions.
Good.
And so the thing is, for our audience, for the people who are watching this Q&A today, who may or may not have seen your film, please give us a little bit of background on your film and what inspired you to make this film.
Okay, well, the film Innovation Race takes a look at the US patent system and how patents have provided America with great leadership over the last 200 years in technology and creativity, and has really led us to be the most powerful country in the world through the small innovator rising up through the patent system, securing intellectual property, and helping our country move forward. But what's happened in the last 10 years, certain government legislation has gone through to weaken the patent system. And now inventors are having a hard time holding on to their IP. Patents are weakening worldwide in their value. And a lot of this, and China is looking at that and saying, we can take advantage of this position that we can position America's in. And unfortunately, big tech had a lot to do with it, and they looked the other way. So it's an interesting film about how our patent system's under attack in this country.
So when you made this documentary, you had an idea, a thought that you wanted to get across to the audiences. Do you feel that that was successful? And was there anything else that you learned while making this film?
Well, it's a pretty deep topic. I mean, you say, hey, I did a movie about patents, and people go, what? What are patents? Their eyes roll back. They go, I'm checking out, It sounds wonky to me. I think what we really tried to do with Innovation Race was take a very complicated topic where a lot of this happens in the world of patent attorneys and up in the cloud somewhere and with vocabulary we don't understand, and it's all legalese. And we tried to bring that down to an emotional level, and say, okay, if that patent system's being damaged or harmed or weakened, who are the victims here? Who's being harmed by this? And what's the effect on our national security and our economic competitiveness worldwide? So there's a lot of stuff to digest in the film. I think we dole it out in a fun and entertaining and easy to watch manner. It's really, it's not targeted towards patent attorneys. It's targeted towards, the average American, because it's something in our Constitution.
So I 100% agree with you. So after watching your film, if people are just as shocked and outraged as myself and the judges were, what are the next steps? What are your suggestions? What can we do about it? Because the most frustrating thing is watching a film and you're like, okay, well, like especially documentaries, and being like, okay, well, now what? Like we're all fired up and we want to do something. Like, what do we do? Like, how are you going to steer everybody? Like, which direction are you going to try to steer us? Like, tell us what to do next.
Well, Ed, the movie is presented by a nonprofit, and you can go to the film's website and take steps there to learn more. We also direct you to our partners like US Inventor and other organizations that are basically inventor activists who are working to strengthen our patent system and help the individual inventor secure intellectual property. I'm not going to be like, the Social Dilemma. You got Tristan, he's on 60 Minutes right now, right? So, he's out there, he's got a huge organization talking about his film, which is awesome, by the way.
What's the film?
The Social Dilemma.
The Social Dilemma. Okay.
Right. I thought everybody in Silicon Valley knew about that.
No, not at all.
It was on Netflix at the beginning of the pandemic. So.
Oh, that's right. I did hear about this. It talked particularly about like Facebook or like Meta, right?
Well, it talks about the attention extraction business model in big tech, but that's his movie. Let's talk about my movie. But the idea is like most documentaries put forward a novel problem, right? Something nobody's
Yes,
ever heard of. If you do it right, you do get people standing around in the lobby afterwards, spilling out, going, "Wait a minute, I'm upset about this issue. I can't believe I've learned all this."
absolutely.
And wow, it seems like a real problem I want to take action on. And we encourage people to take steps to contact their senators, their congressmen, interact with some of the nonprofits that are involved with the film so that their voice can be heard. I mean, there are people, that'll take the activism forward with you.
So what is the website that people can go to learn more about your film?
InnovationRaceMovie.com.
Okay,
And
innovationracemovie.com.
if they go there, we're in late November, early December. We're going to be on a video on demand service called Trellis, and you'll be
Okay.
able to purchase a view of the film, and then all the other viewing opportunities as it's released digitally will be available on the website.
So Luke, let's get to know you a little bit more. What prompted you to make this documentary?
Well, I've been working in activism and making documentaries about the little guy fighting the big guy since, I don't know, for about 12 years now. And
Okay.
I love to tell the story of people moved off the couch into activism and, fighting for, values and that they hold dear. So that's kind of what I do. And the films I've done are all about that.
Mhm.
So it's fun to tell the story of David fighting Goliath.
Yep. So what are some of the other films that you've done in the past, and where can our audience watch more of your work, your
Well,
previous work?
some of it's on YouTube. I did one film. Actually, it's a prequel to this, and it's
Oh,
called Invalidated. All right.
and this is on YouTube, on your YouTube
It's on
channel.
no, it's on Amazon Prime and
It's
on
on Amazon
iTunes,
Prime.
right? And iTunes, and it's called Invalidated, and it follows the story of a father of 8 who invents the toy of the year. It's called Bunch of Balloons. If you go to Walmart during the summer,
Yep.
you'll see the balloons that go on the end of the hose, and it makes like a dozen balloons in 10 seconds.
Yep.
And water balloons. And it's his story of him inventing that and the infringement that was done upon him by a large corporation. His idea was stolen. And it's
Oh,
his
wow.
journey to save his invention. And his journey takes him to Washington, D.C., where he discovers his patents at risk, U.S. innovations at risk. And it kind of stops there. And
Oh.
making that movie, we said, well, wow, what are the consequences? We've learned how it's harmed Josh, the balloon guy. What does this mean to our national security and economic competitiveness? So we expand on that in Innovation Race.
Ah, I see. So you had mentioned also that you have a YouTube channel. What is your YouTube channel so that people can find you and
Well, they can go to my website, groundfloorvideo.com, and
groundfloorvideo.com?
groundfloorvideo.com, and we've done films on all types of policy issues like the border, healthcare, what else? Let's see, intellectual property rights, race in America. I mean, you name it. It's all the stuff that nobody wants to talk about.
So I have a question for you. This is because this Q&A is about your film Innovation Race. What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Just because I feel like this is definitely something that's gaining popularity. Everybody's talking about it right now, especially with what happened to FTX. Like, in terms of like innovation, how do you think crypto relates to innovation? I feel like that this is something that we're going to be hearing a lot more of in the
Right.
future.
Well, I'm, more politically, I'm lean towards libertarian, conservative libertarian, right? So, I
Yep.
mean, I like Bitcoin. I like anything where, you have something that's value that's yours, the government can't take away.
Decentralized. Yep.
I'm very concerned about, any kind of digital currency the government controls.
Yes.
So I like the idea of Bitcoin. It's pretty cool. The idea that there's finite, it's finite and you can own it and no one can take it away. I like all that. I don't own any of that. My wife runs our finances and she doesn't want to do any of that stuff. So, we're too close to retirement to think about buying Bitcoin and crypto right now.
So is this something that you would be interested in the future? Like, can we expect to see a film from you on any cryptocurrencies and some trends towards that in the
Well,
future?
it's not on my radar right now, but I do commissioned work.
Okay. So if people if people, because there may be a lot of crypto enthusiasts watching this Q&A after they've seen your film, if they would like to hire you to maybe create a documentary or a film about cryptocurrency, is that something that you would be interested
I
in?
would be interested in that. I think that you have to, okay, I like to bring it down to the emotional issue. I mean, I'm a filmmaker who interviews people, right?
Yep.
So, I go around and tell the stories of people, they're struggling, going through some kind of hero's journey. So if it involves that, I'd be interested in. I'm not going to tell the story of that guy, what's his name? The FTX guy.
Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's no victim.
No, he's not. So, another question for you. What
Mhm.
was the whole process like when you were making this documentary? How
Well,
long did it take?
I mean, it takes a long time. It took about a year. Plus, we were struggling with the pandemic and trying to book people
Yep.
for interviews because I wanted to use a special style called where they look directly in the lens while you're interviewing them using certain
Yes.
tools to do that. So I didn't want that to be a Skype call, right?
Yep.
We had an opportunity for it, and I want this to be a high quality looking film, with people talking to the lens with separate angles at different things.
Yes.
So, we set out for this, and we already knew something about the patent system, which I knew nothing about when I did Invalidated back in 17. And we already had, we had some speed going already on the topic. We already had we understood where we were, momentum, so to speak. So this was really about, look, this is an issue that is affecting everybody in America. It's very bipartisan,
Yes,
nonpartisan,
absolutely.
right? Everybody agrees. On the left, it's like, okay, it's the little guy against big corporations. On the
Yep.
right, it's the little guy against big government. So
Yep.
everybody agrees. I mean, in my film, I've got the senator from Senator Coons, Chris Coons from Delaware, who's a Democrat, and I've got the firebrand conservative Thomas Massey from Kentucky on the other side. Plus, we have experts from Silicon Valley, Democrats and Republicans, and it's quite an interesting topic. Everybody can unite around. It's really interesting at the premiere to sit around the table with people from different political views, all basically agreeing there's a problem, we need to fix it.
Absolutely. When you've had live screenings of this particular film, what were some conversation topics that really surprised you? I guess, and in terms of like, what were some things that were talked about that you weren't expecting?
Wow, that's interesting. It's usually, to be honest with you, it's usually what's not in the film that's discussed. It's people, because at the premieres, you get people that really know about the topic,
Yep.
right? Every premiere of a film is going to have your experts and their friends coming in and everything. So
Yep.
it's things, boy, I wish we would have talked about this topic or that topic. Crypto wasn't in it, but it was like, that's what surprises me is like, I wish you'd talk about this or talk about that. Most people agreed that there's a problem and something needs to be done. And most people say, wow, everyone needs to see this movie, right? In a documentary, when you get the audience saying, wow, everyone needs to see this movie, that's usually a good sign.
Oh, absolutely. So the thing is, like we touched upon it a little bit earlier, but after people watch this movie and they feel very strongly and agree with the message that you're trying to convey in the film, you said reach out to your senators. Like, what do they say? What are we supposed to say to our senators? Like, what do we say? Like,
Well,
how can change be brought about after watching this film when we reach out to people?
I'm working with a very talented team called Doxology that's
Mhm.
helping us market the film, as well as Lori Heiselman and the publicist. And they said, look, we need to get a podcast going. So we
Okay.
started a podcast, right? We're about 6
Awesome.
episodes in. So we grabbed the folks, the key players in the movie, and sit down with them for about an hour and ask them questions that are related to the topic or expand on their, what they had to say in the movie. So that's one way. So you get up to speed on the content and on the issues that way. And then all of them each present, links in the podcast on where you can take action, learn more, and things like that.
So what is the name of the podcast?
It's called the Innovation Race Movie Podcast. Innovation Race Movie Podcast. And it's on the Innovation Race Movie website, right?
Perfect. So it's just the Innovation Race Movie website just links you to the YouTube channels, to your website, to the podcast.
Spotify, Apple, Google, everything. Yeah, it's on all the platforms. But yeah, that's a really good question. You wish there was like a needle focus, right? Like, gee, you go this one link, you take these steps and all this
Yes.
change is going to happen.
Yes.
It's much more harder than that. This legislation was put in place with hundreds of millions of dollars of lobbying
Mm.
to basically make our patent system a place where large companies can easily railroad through intellectual and infringe upon intellectual property rights holders so they can maintain their market position. Okay, that's basically what this legislation did. And that's not easy to change.
Is it impossible to change?
No, it's not impossible at all. As a matter of fact, we in the film, and I don't want to have any spoilers, but that the two Congress members of Congress in there, they present their ideas,
Mhm.
and you could easily, say, well, gee, I'm going to go with Senator so and so's idea or Congressman so and so's idea. The idea is just wake people up to this. People don't
Yes.
know anything about this. It's way is Gary Lauder, who lives in Atherton, right? He lives in Mountain View. He's a huge venture capitalist, right, in
Yep.
tech. He says, look, this stuff's way below the radar. Nobody pays
Yeah.
attention to patents. Yet it's in Article 1, Section 8 of our Constitution.
Yep.
Before the Bill of Rights, it was written in when they said, here's how we're going to set up Congress. Oh yeah, and by the way, they got to protect the rights of inventors and writers, and they need to create a way to do that. And they
Because they
created the
knew
patents.
that if those rights weren't protected, it would be the downfall of our society, which we unfortunately are starting to see.
Right. I mean, it's like I'd love to talk to the guys at the festival about this. I mean, and we say it in the movie. I mean, Steve Jobs, the founders of Google, they all started with patents because they were disruptors against
Yes.
IBM and all these big corporations. And they had certainty in their patents. They knew they could sue and get injunctive relief, and that people would have to pay big penalties. But
Yep.
10 years later, they're turning into the guys that are trying to pull the ladder up on the little guy, and it's not fair.
It's not fair. I completely agree. So, Luke, what is your background? And again, how did you did you go to school for filmmaking?
Yeah.
Like people who watch this and are inspired to also, follow in your footsteps and want to be film. Like, what is your background? Like,
Oh,
how did you get into this?
I grew up in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the University of Michigan is located, and went to school in Michigan. And I was the kid, the pimpled kid, faced kid who pushed all the movie projectors to classrooms in high school. So I've
Oh,
been doing this since I was a little kid. Yeah, I've been making videos and working in radio stations, and my first job was in television with ABC, and then I went
hmm.
on to New York and LA and produced commercials and television programs, and ended up here in Atlanta back in the 90s, which is wonderful here in Atlanta. So raised my family. So I've always been involved with making, trying to do, video production and corporate videos and things like that. If you've eaten a Chick-fil-A sandwich, the person that made that sandwich most likely watched a training video produced by me.
Wow, that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
My
So
claim to
you
fame.
knew, so you knew this was something that you wanted to do since you
Oh
were
yeah.
in high school, like since you
Yeah,
were.
making movies, not so much, but especially theatrical releases. That was, I was more the corporate, business side of things, business to business, right? And I did
So
some TV shows and entertainment and stuff. But movies, no. Documentaries, though, allow that, and obviously the tools have become democratized where everyone can produce high quality work.
yep. We just are living in such an interesting time right now with distribution, right? It's just when you have something really good, it's
Oh
you
yeah.
don't have to wait for someone to notice you, or it's like you can just put your content out there and it can just spread like wildfire. And so the thing is, going forward, do you just want to focus on documentaries, or do you also want to focus on narrative films as well?
Oh, I'd love to get into narrative movies. I'd like to do more of that. Some of the guys I go to church with and are friends with, and they've done some narrative films. So I'd love to do that. As a matter of fact, in Innovation Race, I tried to explore. I wrote 8 pages of copy and created some scenes that are interstitial to the movie to explain some complicated concepts. I was inspired once again by the Social Dilemma flick because they used that very creatively in their film. I didn't have the budget for that like they did, but it's the idea of saying, okay, how do we make an emotional connection with the audience when we're talking about an academic topic, right?
Hmm.
How do we keep it somewhere? How do we explain things like unfairness and injustice, how do we get those emotions across to the audience? So we wrote some scenes into the film, which surprised people because it's not at all in the trailer.
Yep. So how did you end up raising money to make this film? What was the process
Um,
of that?
well, I've been doing this for a while. I started making political films back in about 2009, and I discovered that I could do commissioned work, and I could go to nonprofits and say, look, if your mission is to talk about this particular problem, and that lines up with how I feel about it, and I'm
Hmm.
interested in this topic too, I'll make a movie about it, and I'll put in a lot of effort on my own if you could just fund certain aspects of it. And then you basically just get more, and as you do other projects, you get more and more of the percentage of the project funded until you end up with, you get a track record of making movies that are effective. And then nonprofits will say, look, we want to talk about this issue, and we have people that we know that are harmed by it or whatever, and we want you to run around and interview them and make a story about it.
Absolutely. You know what? I think that's very insightful because even for myself, I was a judge at a film festival and I met a filmmaker and, we connected on social media and, we didn't really, connect there was no connection afterwards. And then I went off, I had a baby, my second baby, and, like late at night in the middle of the night, I'm like feeding my child and I'm like browsing through social media. And I saw that this filmmaker was actually trying to raise money for a film on sex trafficking, on human trafficking.
Right, right.
And that is a topic that I am very passionate about. And so, in the middle of the night, I, watched his sizzle reel. I reached out to him. I asked him to send me the script. He sent over the script. I saw that he was nowhere near, the money that he was looking to raise to make this film. So I got on the phone with him and I said, hey, I really love the story. I love this cause. I will executive produce and pay for this entire film to be made if you cast me as the lead for your film. And so the thing is that short film Promises of Snow came out. And so it's just so crazy how, you never know who you're going to be connected with. And when you stay connected, and you keep putting your stuff out there, you keep working, it's like you never know who will sync up with you and want to sync up with you in the future.
Yeah, it's really important too when you're dealing with issues like that or somewhat political. You also have to make sure you don't burn bridges. I
Yes.
remember early on when I was talking about the rise of grassroots movements in America back in like 2009. We just happened to be in a place where a lot of that was happening, and I volunteered a lot of my time. I was making a lot of corporate videos and stuff. I just took cash flowed the whole project from my business,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then, all of a sudden, boom, we've got this huge audience,
Yep.
and we made our own DVDs and sold them direct and on our own website and made a ton of money. So, you can find opportunities if you're good at finding opportunities. You'll find a market for your movie. And some people they hit the film festival circuit, and that's the way that they find money, or they get a grant, or they're really good at writing grants. Right? I'm not good at writing grants, so you'll find a way to get your message out there if you're persistent. Just like inventors want to solve a problem. They're just determined to try every option to solve the problem, and it's almost it's passion for them, right?
Yep.
And they will pursue that to the bitter end until they come up with something, and then they secure that with a patent, and that's supposed to be certain and make sure that no one can steal their idea. It's really disruptive. It's really cool. No one's ever thought of it.
Yep.
And next thing you know, some big guy steals the idea and drags them into the patent office, takes them over to the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, which was created by this legislation we're talking about, and they invalidate the patent because as an independent inventor, that guy didn't have enough money to hire enough attorneys and spend $500,000 defending his patent. So that's what this is about. It's about the passion to do something and getting cut off at the knees.
Yep. I have a question for you, and I'll bring this up and then we'll bring it to a close. But there is a film festival in Louisiana. You're in Atlanta, and Louisiana is, your neighbor right next door, or very close to you. And the thing is, they have this film festival every year. It's called the Louisiana Film Prize. And that was actually the festival where I was a judge one year. And that's where I met that filmmaker, and we made the human trafficking film, short film. At that particular film festival, they have a contest every year. And the thing is, if your film gets accepted and if it wins the grand prize is $50,000. And that is the largest cash prize for a short film that I have ever come across. And, you know, I just feel like a lot of people it's in a city called Shreveport.
Sure.
And so, you know, the entire city comes and shows up. They watch all the films, and the condition for you voting is you have to watch all of the films. It's always 20 films. And then you vote. And I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like if you were to create something, you know, over in Shreveport for this festival, especially around patents, around innovation, I just feel like it would be well received. And
Well, maybe we could run a great equalizer there. I mean, does it have to be brand new? Could it be something that's already out for a while, like
I
several
believe,
months?
well, so here's the thing. The condition is the film has to be filmed in Shreveport or in Louisiana. That's the condition. So, you know, just getting your juices flowing, because I know you're always, you know, thinking up things, you're always like working on projects. I just would love to see, and you know, I attend every year, you know, just because I enjoy the festival. I attend either as a filmmaker myself or, you know, as an executive producer. But I definitely think that these topics that we've talked about today are topics that need to kind of be put out there. And if you can, you know, score like the cash prize, or if you can, you know, and the great thing about this is if you score, I believe in like the top 5, it's either 5, I think it's the top 5, your short film actually gets distribution through one of their platforms. And so it's just another way for, you know, for the word to get out on whatever topic it is that you are making a film about. And so I just wanted to put that out there because I just thought about that as we were chatting. And, you know, as you were talking about, you know, just we were talking about raising money for your next projects and stuff like that. And
the Louisiana Film Prize.
Yes.
I had a film screen in Bossier City, which is.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Bossier City. It's very close to there. How was that? What was the outcome like?
It was good. I mean, we packed it in. It was a limited release, and we had our opening night in Bossier City and did really well. High per screen average. That was back in 2011 for a film we did about race and politics in America.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
but
yes.
but anyways, yeah, Bossier City, yeah. That's interesting. You know, we're so busy here in Georgia though with our film discount. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I definitely think it's something to think about because I think that you, especially based upon the work that I've seen with Innovation Race, I really do think that you could make a really large impact, you know, and I think that your film would do very, very well.
Well, I've got a talented crew of guys here. Right now, we're just trying to get this film off the ground. Today or next, I think it's next week or today, we go up on this pay-per-view platform called Trellis.
Oh, yes. I've never heard of Trellis.
Yeah, it extends the cinema experience into the home. That's what they say.
Okay.
So it's kind of a pay-per-view, like you have to watch it at it runs at certain times, kind of like it's like times it runs. And you watch it on Chromecast or you put it on your TV or Roku or whatever, and you've got 24 hours to watch it or 48 hours to watch it. It's an interesting thing. I've never heard of it. So you move from like a limited release into this cinema limited release in your home.
Yeah.
Right. And then you move and it's from the guys that Angel, the guy that started the Angel network, Angel, I don't know. It's interesting. It's called Trellis. And
okay. Trellis,
I believe. Yeah.
Okay, Trellis. I'm gonna totally look into that. Yeah, I've never heard. Is it a newer platform?
It's real new. It's also I think it's kind of white labeled. I don't think that it's like I don't think you go to Trellis. It's something where it's you buy the tickets online through the website, and then I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait. It's to see how it launches today.
So how has Innovation Race done in the film festival world? Have you been submitting it?
Well, we won at the Anthem Film Festival in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Which is the Libertarian Film Festival. We did well there. and won Best Documentary for film, like in the category of Best Documentary. We have been accepted into your festival, and that's it. We've been,
That's it? Are you
that's
kidding me?
it.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
it. We've entered about 10 of them. So
That's
I'm
shocking.
real disappointed because I think we should have been accepted into a few.
Have you submitted it to South by Southwest?
No, no,
No, you need to submit this film to South by Southwest. I feel like in Austin, like where innovation takes place, like
right.
this is the type of movie that the audience they need to see, and I feel like would be very interested in seeing.
Well, I talked to my marketing director. I mean, we're up on Film Freeway, so it should
Yeah.
be easy to enter. And
South by Southwest.
yeah.
I feel like that that is a film festival that you absolutely need to submit to. Did you submit to San Francisco International Film Festival?
No, we did not.
You need to submit to that one too. I feel
Okay.
like this film is again right up the alley of San Francisco International Film Festival. You have a ton of Silicon Valley, tech, professionals that attend that festival. So again, I feel like that festival is really, really big. But yeah, South by Southwest and San Francisco International Film Festival are two of the festivals that just immediately come to mind.
I'd love to talk to the tech folks because, I was in the big .com bubble burst. I mean, I worked at a tech startup in Atlanta here in 1999, 1995. We ramped up, got $65 million in capital and built this gigantic business out of 30 people all over the world. And, I've been there. I've been laid off like the folks at Twitter. I know what it's like to
Twitter, Meta, like everywhere.
I know what it's like to be punched in the face and drive home crying with that box of stuff going, what am I going to tell my wife? But, I'd love to talk to anybody who's been laid off and talk. There's a lot of parallels between 2001 and today. We were very self-assured that we were all going to be millionaires back then. We got massages on Wednesdays and free lunches on Fridays and keg parties on Friday night. It was, we were jumping ship for the place across town to get the $60,000 bump in the salary. Everybody was going to be rich and we were very important. And I know what it's like when the bubble bursts like that and how right before that, and I kind of feel for them, but it's the best thing that happened to me because I basically just said, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, no, it's like, I feel like sometimes, I know as cliche as this sounds, it's like, the whole, like everything happens for a reason. I think that you have to be pushed out of certain situations in order for you to embrace, the even better things that are ahead. And I feel like, it's like that C.S. Lewis quote, we're just so content making mud pies in the slums because we don't know what it means to have a holiday by the sea. So it's like, I just feel like, when, regardless, I mean, it's tough. It's definitely tough, but, you just have to pick yourself back up, maybe watch this and be reminded of the fact that there are greater things ahead. So you just have to charge forward.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Luke, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. And I am really, really looking forward to our audience watching your film. And afterwards, I hope that everybody goes to your website, innovationracemovie.com, and they end up staying connected with you. And I look forward to connecting you with our tech professional network during our speed networking events for the festival.
Great. Well, I am too. And I'll see you at the show.
Great. Bye, Luke.
Bye-bye.